What up, YouTubers and Facebookers and Instagrammers and all you social media people? So I'm Kevin. I had told you guys before that I was helping the girls do their wheels and heels or heels and wheels equipment. And I told you we would do a video about the van, what we did to make a handicap accessible van on a budget that was a brand new van. We kind of set ourselves a budget for no more than like $25,000, give or take. We got the van brand new. It was a 2018 Dodge Ram ProMaster 1500, and we wanted to be able to adapt it easily so it didn't require a whole lot of custom parts. One of the first things that was going to entail was suspension. Obviously, you have to get them lower to the ground and do it without cutting the actual body and dropping it down the way that most handicap accessible vans are created. They have where they cut out the entire center and re-weld a new floor into them that's really close to the ground. Now, I would like to say, first and foremost, this is not ADA approved or accessible. It has a little bit more of an angle than you would normally have. Rainland doesn't really have a problem getting in and out of it, so it's not a big deal for us. So we started off with the van. I think we bought it brand new for around 20 grand, give or take. The suspension was really simple. The only thing I had to do was purchase some U-bolts to change the way the rear suspension bolted to the vehicle. And I'll explain that in a minute when we take the camera, head on to the back of the van, show you what I did. As for the front of the vehicle, they make coils for the front that have different spring rates from the top versus the bottom. Now, when you get to the top of the coil tends to be, it's a spherical or spiral coil. They're compact at the bottom of the coil. They get extremely long when you get to the top of the coil. So I did cut one entire stretched coil off the top. That lowered the front end 2.5 inches that matched the back end, which we dropped 4 inches. Again, I did the entire suspension work for about 50 bucks, might have been 60. So that brought the vehicle down to the height that we were willing to work with. That gave me a deck height of 18 inches. So when we got the 6-foot ramp over an 18-inch height, that gave us the ratio that we were willing to work with, that we knew we could utilize, and it wasn't too high. Because initially I think the van was 21 inches at the door deck height. I dropped 4 in the rear, 2.5 in the front, and that brought it down to an even 18 inches. Easy to step into. Rainland has no problem getting in it, and we'll go from there and start actually showing you the van and what we did. So as you can see here, this is the lowered version of the van that we did. And basically what I ended up doing was, again, dropping 4 inches in the back, 2.5 inches in the front. All that was a coil cut. This was what's called an axle flip. So when we did the research on the van we picked this particular van because I went around and looked at all the different ones. This was going to be the easiest and cheapest one to modify. And I'm going to now climb under and show you what I did and why. All right, so as you climb under the van, what you'll see now, these are your leaf springs right here. Your axle originally would sit underneath the leaf springs on the bottom side. So what I had to do, these U-bolts right here that you see that go around the spring and back up to the axle, that would normally clamp down and go this way, and it would lock, the nuts would be on this side of that. So what I did was I just had to buy longer U-bolts and unbolt the leaf spring and literally pull them out and put them right back in on the bottom side of the axle. So the only thing that I also had to do, or the other thing I had to do, is there's a small little hole right there that there is a nut that comes right there. You can kind of see that nut and bolt. I did have to drill a hole on the bottom side of the axle in order for that nut to go in it. So there's where it used to go in the top hole right there. Let me see if I can find it. That top hole right there, there's now a matching hole directly underneath it that nut goes into. Then all I had to do was put these new U-bolts on, and that dropped the lower suspension, or the rear suspension, 4 inches. And what that does is, with a van this size, it gets us down to the ground pretty low. Another thing I did, I added the flooring. So normally it would look like a truck bed, and you'd have the corrugated metal that goes up and down. So what I did is I took some little pieces of wood and cut strips, glued them in, and then I actually laid this laminate flooring over the top of it, made it nice and smooth, and it took out all the ripples. So that got us to our deck height. Next thing we did was we put the ramp in. Now we got lucky on this one. Instead of having to buy it from the manufacturer, which I'll give you the manufacturer's name, you can buy them directly from them. I think they're about $1,000, $1,200. We got lucky. There was a guy here locally that had it on Craigslist for $600. It holds a ton of weight. He used to ride his Harley up and down it into his van. So now I'll show you the ramp that we bolted in. All right, so with the ramp, again, it is a manual ramp, so it's got a little bit of weight, but it's made out of aluminum, so not super heavy. Jessica can handle it with ease. We've even had Gracie, her little niece, handle it. So, and this is the wider one. We originally were gonna get one, I think, that was 26 inches or 28, and this one I think is like 32 or 36. So it is a little bit wider. We just got kind of lucky on our purchase. So, but it does give us an 18-inch deck height. And it's that easy. So that gets Randy Lynn in and out of the vehicle, and that's that. So now off to the next process. All right, so with all cargo vans, you generally have the tie-down points that come in all of them. And I didn't take that away. I left it in here. So what I ended up doing was basically, I left that cutout of the floor where that tie-down originally went, and that's where I put her hooks that hook to her chair. So I just put them right back in where they went and made the hooks that hook in. So that was easy enough. As for chairs back here, that's obviously an option. What I ended up doing was did a little bit of research on what chairs have seat belts built into them. And this came out of, I think, a Chevy Envoy. And then the ones that'll be going in the back here came out of a Ford F-150, like roughly an 03 model, something like that. Again, they have the seat belts built into the seats. So all I had to do was just make a little frame, bolt the frame in. Now I have a seat with seat belts already built in. So that's why you see the seats here. Other than that, we added glass. Again, I'll give you all the companies that we use to get this from. So I did add the side windows, which does make a huge difference on this van, being able to see out in your blind spots. I think that was like $700 for the glass. I installed it myself. It was really easy. The company was wonderful to work with. That's all I can really think about on this build. But again, we came out with having a brand new handicap accessible van for under $25,000, and it has worked out really, really well. I think to have these professionally built is somewhere in the 60,000 plus range. Another thing about this ramp, also, it could have been put on the back as well. You can literally bolt this ramp in any door. So if we wanted to go in and out of the back, I could have bolted it there too. And it's only 4 bolts. Like, I can take it out and move it if I wanted to, if I wanted to go back and forth to either side. As for these straps, I think I got these carabiners and these quick release straps from Harbor Freight. And all I did was I took the hook off one end and put the clip-on carabiner, so we can actually take these off and move them wherever we need them in the van if Randy Lynn wants to move around somewhere. And I think that's about it. If you guys have any questions, oh, I'll tell you how I did the front suspension now. So on the front suspension, basically when you lift the vehicle up, there's a coil spring right there. That coil spring, again, it's shaped like a coil. So if you think of how a spring looks, that's what it is, just like such. So where these coils are really close together right here at the bottom, once you get way up top there, they get really far apart. And that's where I made my cut. I cut a full coil out of the entire top section of it. And in order to get that coil out, really all I had to do was lift the van up. I used what's called coil compressors that you can get at Harbor Freight for I think $25. I compressed the coil, pulled it out, made the cut, put it back in, released the coil, and it snapped right back into place, 2.5 inches shorter. The alignment, because we didn't go that far down, nothing changed. The alignment was actually fine. All right, so another thing Randlin reminded me about. So with headlights, you can aim your headlights. Now this goes for any vehicle, but we had to deal with it on this one too. Since I dropped the rear end further than the front is from its natural stance, the headlights were shooting way up in the air. So we were basically blinding everybody that we were driving right behind. So I had to make a quick fix on that. For this particular van, it's kind of easy. You come into the hood, all you have to do is snap this small panel off right here, and it literally has these 2 screws, which I have screwed down a little bit tight and I can't undo it by hand. But once you undo these by hand, this panel pops right off here, and they're just little Phillips head screwdrivers. They even have a thumb hold on them, but they're kind of hard to get off. But there's a hole back here that you can aim your headlight up and down by tightening and loosening it. So I think I had to do 10 turns and it put it perfect right back to the original location the van had its headlights. So again, because we lowered the rear end, it shot the headlights up, so we had to change that angle and push them back down. But other than that, it's pretty good. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, concerns, other vans you need to know something about, I can try to help. This one just worked for us and what we needed. And I said, do your research, see what works for you, what you're able to work with, and get a cost on everything. Again, I think we're into this thing for under $25,000 for a brand new van that is handicap accessible. Thanks for looking. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the girls and the rest of their videos.